Hey, it's Mark again, and we're going to show you this week how to put your stuff together. So you have got your base, boom, and you have, last week, you have done all of your decoration to 90% on the body of your pot. You know, it's either you drew on it, right? Or it's a combination of drawing and sculpting on it to create relief sculpture, right? Cool. But the idea is that then you're going to stack these up like this. And, okay, got to be careful here. Don't want to biff right now after all that time. So usually having a friend around or something. So you can see what's going on, right? And if I hold this here, I've got several different handles around here just to play around. So you can imagine, and I would do these with paper on your model and stuff and play around with what's going to work. So there's a couple examples. Here's another couple examples. Woohoo! We're way up here. All right. Or you can do the whole Greek. Look at me, I'm a Greek pot. Or down here. Shiddly bing bong. And we had a previous demo where we showed you how to do pulling handles, but you don't have to pull. You can, those are kind of weird sizes, but you get it. And if you look down here, I pulled some just a little bit ago, which we're going to apply in a little bit, but I'm letting them get leather hard because I want them to be about the dryness of here. Here's the big thing right now, is making sure that this is attached to here. If I just put it on there and stick it on there, or even if I just put it with a little bit of water, it's not gonna work. So I need to make sure that each of these is well scored. So how do you do that? Okay, I'm being really careful with this. Here's a way to make slit. So here's just a piece of clay, and I take this, and I'm making it into a little bit of a trough, so to speak, right? A little bathtub or something, so that I can take a little bit of water, put a little bit of water in there, and mix this up. Go in here, and this is the same clay as what I'm working on, and so it's going to be the same exact shrinkage as what I'm working on and the same color. All right, so this is there, and here's one that I did and I've let sit for a while, so that's nice and gooey. It's like a fine wine. And I'm going to do this here and score the heck out of this. Okay, so this one's really, really good, and see how nice and gooey that is? I can't emphasize enough. You don't just make some lines in wet clay. Some of you guys brought stuff in last week, and everybody did a good job, but some people just did this to one side and the other side and put a little water and stuck it together. That's not gonna do it. These two sides need to feel like they're meshing together and completely fusing. So you need to create an intermediate area like this. It's really, really gooey, right? See how gooey that is? Crazy. All right, I'm going to do the same thing up here. Now see at the top, I'm going to try to get them all in place so I can put them together at once. I just put those little marks there so I can put this back right where I have it, because I like that. And I'm going to just trace around here, right? Now I can see where I'm going to be able to do this here. And I'm going to do this here too. So we have all these three parts, right? The bottom and the top of this thing, right? They're crazy well scored, and it's gooey, but I'm actually letting it dry just a teeny bit, like for a few minutes here, so it's tacky. And you don't want it to be like runny wet, but you want it to be, you'll get to know it, but you can see it, right? And look how deep I'm going, right? So especially when you're doing connections, the drier that your pieces become, the more you need to really make sure to score. If something's leather hard, you really need to make sure you score it well at the connecting points. And this is going to stay together, like all those things we saw of Minoan pots and Mycenaean pots and classical Greek pots. Those are like over 2,000 years old, right? 3,000 years old. So make this thing really good. It'll be around a while. So here we go. So, boop, there's it. Now I'm going to put this bad dog in place. right? And the beautiful thing about this right now, see how it's squishing out? You want it to squish out. And this is good and leather hard, and I can wiggle it and squish it. And what it's doing is doing this, right? These fingers, if you just put it on top of there, there's all the little spaces between, but I'm gonna wiggle them together so that's all fused, right? Now look, it's gonna stay just fine. And I can really push in here and make sure it's good, right? Okay. Now I'm gonna let that sit for quite a little while until I clean that up. Right now it's all totally gooey and stuff, and I'm not gonna try to clean it up right away, but what I wanna do is go around and make sure that I like it. And if you have one of these things, it's called a torpedo level, right, a bubble level, you can set this right up and see if it's the way you want it. Again, that gooey stuff there, I'm gonna clean that up, and you'll see me cleaning it up in just a minute. But we're gonna do the same thing with here. We're gonna put this on here and really press that in place, right? Really pushing it on there. And I'm gonna get the angle the way I want it. So attaching two pieces of clay is not just about scoring both of the areas so that they have the same water content and they're deeply serrated. There's also pressure is part of it, where you apply a little bit of pressure, and sometimes you really have to brace things so that you can apply pressure without pushing the whole thing and changing what you want. Now this isn't exactly perfect, symmetrical, but I like that. It has a kind of a little bit of a look to it, like a little bit of a sway. So I'm gonna go ahead and go with that. So I'm looking at it from all the angles. Make sure you're happy with how it's swaying or how it's sitting. And then go away for 10 or 15 minutes and let these seams firm up a little bit, and then we'll show you what to do next. I just put it together and it's still gooey, so you have 2 or 3 minutes right now where you can really manhandle it a little bit, and you can move it here or there, and you can take the top and move it around, and you can look at it from every different angle and like it, because you can still move it. After a couple of minutes, all the seams, they're really fluid and stuff, like lava or something, and then all of a sudden they just solidify and get firm. And if you try to bend them then, they'll crack and break. So right now, when you got it together, is a time when you want to like the way it looks up and down from every angle, right? So put it on a Lazy Susan, or run around the table and look at it from every angle, or have it on a board so you can gently go like this. But now is the time to wait. Now is the time to make sure you like it the way it is, then go away for a while. So don't come back and go, oh, I want it to go just a ½ an inch that way. If you try it after it's firmed up, it's gonna snap, or it's not gonna snap, but it's gonna crack there. So right now, while it's all gooey, is the time to do it. Okay, so we've let this dry for about 10, 15 minutes, and you can see, beautiful tool, right, this serrated rib. You can use this or a knife, and you can go in and clean these up, but you can see how, it's still a little bit gooey, but it's not necessarily near what it was. And then you can create this transition here to be exactly the way that you want it to be. So I'm gonna do that here, and I'll also do it up here, right? Go around and create that. Perfect. And you spend a little time right now and make sure, like, for example, that's not working so well, right? But that's looking a little bit better, how this transition comes down and then changes direction. So I wanna like it. Okay, so I'm playing around with handles now, and these were pulled and they're leather hard. I'm gonna put these up against here and you can kind of see what's going on. That's one example. Of course, the handles are always longer than you want them, so you can screw around with them. And I've cut them down and stuff, so we'll go like this. And I can set one on top of the other if I get them about the shape that I want them, and then kind of make sure they're about the same kind of angle and all the rest of it. Just using a little bit of water to set them in place and see if I like it, right? Okay, so there's that. And basically I'm looking all at negative space here, right? I'm looking at the negative space and seeing what I think, like the space up around here, behind there, and the space inside, the spacing down here on the shoulders, right? They don't have to be exactly the same. Even if you look at a human being, we're not actually the same on both sides either. We're quite asymmetrical. But you want to like the way that it's balanced, the asymmetrical balance of what you're looking at, right? These could even be two dramatically different handles, but you just want them to make sense with your composition, with your body, your foot, your neck, and then some kind of handles or accoutrements. So I'm looking at that, and that's one solution.